to see the important topic and important subject of computer science and engineering, the internet programming. Before we are going to see the subject internet programming, first of all we have to learn what is internet. The internet is nothing but the communication between the client as well as server. Usually the transmission medium always performs the interconnectivity between the client as well as server. Throughout the internet, the online media plays a vital role in the whole world to communicate the persons to each other, what they are actually going to tell, what they are actually going to communicate. Those are the things having comes under one unique protocol. It's a chain process. The person communicate with somebody, and those person having reply for that request. It is the platform for finding the basic idea of programming languages. It comes under online, which will becomes internet, so the both the subjects can be combined, and the intermediate learning objectives which comes under the major protocol subjects named as internet programming. First, we are going to see the syllabus of internet programming. What we are going to see the major criteria and major aspects in internet programming. The first, introduction to web, what is web and web technologies, etc., etc., and the history in the sense the major criteria which comes under from the very basics to the upgraded level. Also we have to see the OSI reference model, which are the references and object surface interference models are available to communicate and belonging to the new web world. Understanding web system architecture. Before we are going to seeing the web system architecture, what is web system? Web system which communicates the whole in and out procedure for the internet programming. And next we are going to seeing understanding three-tier architectures. Three-tier as well as the one is client and another one is server, and the intermediate as well as the medium. It means maybe a router or some communication medium or some JPEG or some MPEG file which is through to communicate both the client and as well as server. And before we are going to see the most familiar topic of TCP IP, transmission control protocol and internet protocol. Layers, what are the layers we have to use in TCP as well as IP model. And next is get and post methods. Wow, how we can produce the request to the server and how we can get the response from the server. The same meaning which will comes under the topic of get and post methods of HTTP. We all know the basic concepts of HTTP. What is HTTP? Hypertext Transfer Protocol. What is it? Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is the major domain platform which executes or which evaluates the corresponding domain name into the web server. Once we are providing the corresponding domain name, then only we can able to accessing the particular web server or web pages. And next we are going to see the differences between get and post methods. What is the difference between get and post methods? And web development usage, an overview of HTTP, using cookies and remember user information. What is cookies? The junk as well as the usage files are defaultly storing in our system. Those files are can be called as cookies to remember user information. And before we are going to see the major platform of the particular subject, it is called the HTML. What is HTML? Hypertext Markup Language. And basic HTML, the document body, text, hyperlinks, adding more formatting, list, tables, using colors and images An introduction to web. One of the most important technological advancement. Of course, nowadays we are all using the smartphones, laptop, tablets and PC, lane PCs like that, LED display, LCD display. It's all the advancement of unique IT world, and IT world holds probably it's depending on the internet. Without the internet we can't able to do nothing for communicating as well as developing something. It's a worldwide system of computer networks, a network of networks in which users at any one computer can, if they have permission, get information from any other computer. As my introduction as well as I am telling the same protocol, same way of teaching. A network of networks in the sense one person communicates to somebody. Once they are receiving the proper response from the major source, then only they can be able to accessing the system or something like that. Next, www, the major platform, the World Wide Web. It's a domain address which is execute a structure of interlinked documents accessed through the internet. Those documents are called web pages. Web pages contains images, text, videos, and many other multimedia elements. Of course, we are going to see something like that. We are seeing several websites. Those websites are Flash websites, Flux and Corel using something like that. All the web pages are maybe animated, dynamically performed web pages or websites. So those users can view the web pages in web browsers. And the next important topic is history of the web. What is the history? We are traveling throughout the year from the beginning to the new one. Internet. Advanced Research Project Agency Network, ARPANET, is the first internet network platform which was developed in the year 1969. What is the name? ARPANET. What is ARPANET? Briefly, Advanced Research Project Agency Network. AR, A in the sense advanced, R in the sense research, P in the sense project, A in the sense agency, and net in the sense network. So Advanced Research Project Agency Network first. And next in the year 1989, the developers Tim Berners-Lee of the European Particle Physics Laboratories developing a scientist, CERN, they are producing another one important language in the year 1989. Initial purpose, they are used to networked hypertext documents to facilitate communication among the members. Now it will be incorporated through computer graphics and audio packages, some video packages we are going to use. Nowadays they are using some animated movies or some animated images. Very earlier version we are all using GIF files, right? Hope you all of you know about something GIF files, some glitters, some moving texture or moving pictures. It will be called .gif file, graphical integrated file. Those called GIF files. Very important topic of internet programming in the very first unit. It is OSI reference model. So what is OSI reference model? The communication between both client and as well as server. Just look at the picture. Toronto and Atlanta. Both the communication mediums, they are sending message to each other. I am sending you a package Toronto. The Toronto will respond, I will be expecting Atlanta, right? The Toronto will receive the message, most probably they are waiting. Atlanta sending the message, I am sending you a package Toronto. So some persons called Rajiv in Atlanta tells Niti from Toronto. So Rajiv from Atlanta. Rajiv in Atlanta tells Nidhi in Toronto that is going to send her a package through the OSI courier service. Nidhi in Toronto responds, great, I will be looking for it. So both the communications medium OSI reference model majorly act as a intermediator for both the client as well as server. Here we can take both. Toronto may be a client, Atlanta may be a server, maybe vice versa, right? Next. So once it is received, Toronto receives, Bills prepares for the way bill for the courier service and calls pickup. OSI courier picks up the package from Bill's Atlanta's office and takes it off in the truck. Once the bill is passed, once the money or whatever it is, the respondent comes into our account, the packaging process comes under. So the next, the package gets transferred to an airplane or shipment through Toronto. The content is, the shipment is moved once the response will received from the client. So that's the important thing. The communication medium, what is OSI? It's an intermediator. The server sends a request or client sends a request, that doesn't matter. The request received responded from the receiver or sender. That's the major things. The airplane arrives Toronto where it is offloaded, sorted and placed on a truck bound for Niti's office. What is Niti's office? It's Toronto. The package is delivered to Nitish via the truck. Nitish acknowledges to Bill that she received the package. The examples, the courier examples. Each step in the process, sending the package from Atlanta to Toronto, required a specific job to be done at a specific level. Just as the package had to go through each step of the process, transferring and sharing data from one machine on a network to another requires stepping through a process. What is stepping through a process? The shipment is processed from Atlanta through Toronto. The shipment is processed one network to another network. In technically wise, we are speaking about that. The technically speaking about that, the one network which is communicated to other network. The intermediate is OSI reference model. Right? Hope you understand that. To standardize the process, a model for how data is to be sent, uncharted, always transported and delivered must be used. The whole process comes delivered here, right? Sending, sorting, transport and delivery. This process is called network model. The complete package is called network model. The designer of the model, which is called OSI. Network models exist to provide a framework or blueprint for implementing standards and protocols that allow machines and devices to communicate. Of course, the PCs available, maybe laptops are available to communicate the client system or server system, etc., etc. Right? Of course, I am having mobile phone to communicate my server. Server means that device or some person. Process and task are separated into a logical groups called layers. International Standards Organization (ISO) also developed the Open System Interconnection Reference Model. Describes how data communication should take place. It comes 7 layers. Also we known as design principles of OSI reference model is each layer is well defined function. Each and every layer has separate functionalities. Also it always is generalized platforms. And boundaries are very clear and less information flows. Includes its set of protocols. What is the 7 layers of OSI? Application, presentation, session, transport, network and data link physical layers. Usually we can telling that applications for using server applications, presentation, how the client requirements actually it is. Session in the sense that platform or server request or sending response, the duration period it will be called session layers. Transport, how the transporting medium access through server and the client. And network, the intermediate path, both sender as well as client. The intermediate medium or path it will be called as network. Data link, which the data has to be linked through the server and the client. Physical in the sense the hard copy devices. What are the devices we can use to shipping server through client or client to server. So these are the 7 layers of plays a vital role of OSI reference model. And the 3 layers, the top 3 layers are called upper layers, and remaining bottom of 4 layers are called lower layer. The upper layers comes application, presentation, session. Whereas these are the layers are comes software platform in this concept. And lower layers are transport, network, data link and physicals. These are the intermediate platform layers, so it is called lower layers. And data link layers in this unit, it is called logical link control and media access control. Basically we can say that MAC is a, what is it? MAC is a media access control and something like that. What is it? Media access control, MAC layers. And then in the first floor 4 layers, physical, data link, network, transport. It provides the end-to-end services necessary for the transfer of data between 2 systems. What 2 systems? One is client system, another one is server systems. It is a intermediate layers of 4. What is it? What are the layers or intermediate layers? Physical, data link, network and transport layers. And the top 3 layers is application, presentation and session layer provides the service applications required for the exchange information. I am already telling that these 3 protocol layers are application oriented, software oriented. So it comes under the category of top level 3 layers. Okay. Next, the important example of OSI reference model, it comes under all the 7 protocol layers. What is the major thing is TCP/IP. What is TCP? Transmission Control Protocol. What is IP? Internet Protocol. So the transmission medium, how It is communicated through the internet. Both the concepts are comes under TCP/IP. What is it? Transmission Control Protocol as well as Internet Protocol. And transport layer, IP is a network layer. So understanding the web system architecture, before you are studying the client server communication as well as end-to-end communications, first you are going to study how the intermediate communications performs on web systems. It derived by some architectures. Internet is a worldwide network of computers all attached in global networking scheme. The scheme is known as TCP/IP, and one unique address to be followed to communicate both the client and server and between computers. For example, port number, we can say that. What is the port number? We are having unique port number for our system as well as client system as well as server system, right? For example, 7070 is a port system of client, in the sense client sends a request to the server, server receives the request from the client which order of port number 7070. Once the port number is established through, it may be a server's port number is 7071. Watch clearly. I am telling once again. If for the example, client's port number is 7070 and server's port number is 7071, in the sense both the port numbers are earlier stage established, then only we can communicate both the client as well as servers. Okay, it will be called as unique address. It will be called as unique address. Understanding web system architecture, it will be continued that www uses internet to exchange text, graphics and even multimedia content using standard protocols. The terminology used web server, web client. Those the servers and clients are involves the concept of online, it will be called web server or web clients. What is web server? It's a special computer like all the requests are received for one medium. Those medium called server. It's a general explanation. As well as special computers that are set up for the purpose of delivering content placed on the internet with specific content for other to access. And the web clients are desktop, dedicated terminals, mobile devices or many more which access the server's content via a browser. These are the setup for client server communication. Client as well as through accessing the internet in the server, and the third PC is the intermediate PC. This is the major platform we are going to using the OSI. Next, server machine receives too many requests from other hard copy devices. I am already telling that laptop available, personal computers are available, mobile phones are available. So many requests received from so many devices. Each device has its own unique characteristics, right? Laptop has its own characteristics. Personal computer has its own characteristics. Mobile phone also unique characteristics. So each and every devices communicate the same time through the server. It will respond to the every machines or every PCs throughout the same time. So it is called the unique server machines. Next comes the major topic, browser. Browser is a specialized applications for displaying web content. For example, www.google.com. The browser page, the domain name is www.google.com. That will comes later. The browser is what is the domain we have punched in the URL link. The display unit is called browser. Example, Google maintains many web servers that connect to their database of content on the web. Using a PC can connect to the server via browsers. The example of the platform, the URL we typed HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or yes. Remaining one more important topic, HTTP is you all know Hypertext Transfer Protocol. One more important topic is HTTPS. What is yes? Secure protocol, secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Okay, the most of the governmental websites are having, or institutional websites are having HTTPS, Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Okay. Next is a client server architecture, which the user interface. Who is going to using the platform? Which platform? The client server medium. And functional process logic, and what's the business rules actually we are going to be made, and data storage and data access. are developed and maintained as independent modules. What is independent module? Dependent modules is something like that. Dependent module in the sense is maybe dependent about any hardware devices, any software or any key, etc. etc. Independent modules like they are accessing themselves, most often on separate platforms. And the three tiers are client, web server and database servers. The request, I am already telling that so many devices are accessing the web server continuously. So all the requests are received by the web server, it will be responded to. All the data can be stored in the database server. So it's not a separate server, it's a merged server into the web server as well as database servers. Presentation tier, application tier, data tier. These three tiers are plays a vital role. And the three tier architecture performs like client computers, application server, database servers. And data server receives all the business data, and middle tier server and performing the applications, rules and appliances for something like that. Client, presentation, logic, something like that. Which logic the communications performs, both the client as well as server. User interface runs on a desktop PC or workstation and uses a standard GUI. The functional process logic may consist of one or more separate modules running on a workstations or application server. Functional process logic like in what basis actually the client communicates a server, on what basis the server responded to the client. Sorry, excuse me. The functional process logic may consist of one or more separate modules running on a workstation or application server. And RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. So one of the important database server. What is RDBMS? Relational Database Management System. On a database server or mainframe contains the computer data storage logic. Middle tier may be multi-tiered n-tier architecture. N number of servers accessing several clients, which means they identified and addressed n-tier architecture. It has advantages of modular software with well-defined interfaces. Allows any of the three tiers to be upgraded or replaced independently as requirements or technology changes. And what technology changes? If some clients are requesting server, maybe the server not having their port ID because of the lagging of the version what the client having. So it's upgraded version in the sense only it will be support the only standard upgraded client PCs or client request. So this is the technology change or something like that. What's the example? Changing OS in presentation tier would affect the user's interface code. That is what I am telling that. We are using Windows 10. The server PC is Windows 7. Or we are using Windows 9 or Windows 12, Windows 10 in our server PC. We are having only Windows 7 or some other OSs, operating systems. It will not merge it through the communication between client as well as servers. Both the upgraded versions only communicated with the client as well as server. Presentation tiers. Topmost level of the applications. Which presentations? And related information always to service about some history of browsing and purchasing, something like that. Which domain we have to enter in that place. Communicates with other tiers by outputting results to the browsers, client tiers, something like that. Next, applications, business logic and logical tiers. The three layers comes in a single category. Which category? It's a control and application functionality category by performing detailed processing. And next is data tier, consists of a database servers. What is database servers? We already think that too many requests from the clients. The web server receives all the requests from the client. It will redirect it into database server. Here information is stored and retrieved. This tier keeps data neutral and independent from application server or business logic, because the server receives the response from the server. The two servers are involving and handling the client request only, but which data and which layer stores at which place, that will be decided by web server using database server. So database servers act like as just idle to receiving response from the web server. The purpose of relaxing the space from web server and avoid interruptual package from the network traffic, then only we can able to handle database server. Improve scalability and performance. Of course, we are using additional third-party server, in the sense we can have some scalability and performance-wise improvement performance we can have, like that. So the 3-tier architectures, and the user by using presentation layer, like it's like our browser, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox, or Opera. What browsers we can use, that isn't a matter. It comes under presentation layer. Logical tier, like the inner script or database script using that. For example, HTTP Hypertext Transfer Protocol transfer the request what we are typing in the URL. For example, https://www.google.com. In the sense, once we are clicking the enter button, the request sent to the logical tier. The script of the PHP. What is PHP? We are going to see in the next subject. Just I am telling the abbreviation of PHP. Hypertext preprocessor. Hypertext preprocessor. I hope you remind the name hypertext. What is HTML? What is HTML? Hypertext markup language. So the request is converted as well as the script, and the HTML responded to that web server Apache IIS. IIS. What is IIS? Internet Information System or Internet Information Server. Most probably they can call the Internet Information System. All the information which comes under the database server, which involves the category of IIS. Okay. Next, data tier, which comes under database server. Database, in the sense we can use the query languages. That is why we can use SQL. What is SQL? Structured query language. Structured query language and tables and things like that. Okay. And TCP/IP. It's a model. TCP/IP, in the sense transmission control protocol, internet protocol. The model is a specification for computer network protocols created by DARPA, define ARPANET, like that. It is developed by US Department of Defense, called the Internet Reference Model, denial of denial model or ARPANET model. Okay, DOD, in the sense denial of disruption or denial. TCP/IP shoots defines a set of rules to enable computers to communicate over a network. And it also provides the client to server connectivity, end-to-end connectivity, specifying how data should be formatted, addressed, shipped, routed and delivered to the right destination. Okay. TCP/IP generally described as having 4 abstraction layers. It maintained by IETF. It's one of the transmission control protocol. Internet Engineering Task Force. And the layer protocols are there: application layer, transport layer, internet layer, and network access layers. And 7 layers comes under OSI layer. That will be different from TCP/IP layer. From the bottom to top approach, here we are going to see what is the bottom to top approach. First layer is physical layer, second one is data link layer, third one is network layer, fourth one is transport layer, fifth one is session layer, sixth one is presentation layer, seventh one is application layer. It comes under TCP for the topmost 3 layers. Application, presentation, session, the 3 layers comes in a combined version of application layer only. And transport layer is transport layer, and network layer is internet layer, data link layer and physical layer comes under network access. So OSI layer, they are following the 7 protocols. As well as the same TCP/IP layer follows only 4 protocol layers. Get and post method. What is get and post method in HTML? So the user, how they can raise the request from the server and how it will receive the response from the server. The 2 categories. In HTML, 2 different submission methods for a form. Form method equal to get or post. The symbol is term, the single line, vertical line will be called as a or symbol. Get or post method. It's a syntax for using get and post method. The difference between is primarily in terms of form data encoding. Get must be used if any, only if the form processing is item idempotent in the sense it's like them somewhat idle important phases through get method. And get form data is enclosed into a URL. What is it? Form data is enclosed into a URL, should be used when form processing is idempotent. It mainly for getting or retrieving data. And post method is slightly different from getting method. It will appear the body of the message within the data, how the form it will be delivered. They may involve anything like storing or updating data or ordering a product or sending email like that. Example, so online purchase use get or post. Get often catchable, the post in the sense not catchable, hardly it can be not catchable. When user submit request, browser constructs the form data set, encodes in a manner which depends on the encrypted type attribute. The form data sets it's transmitted. Just to view the second point of the web browser, encodes in a manner which depends on the encrypted type attributes. So the receiver sends the request in an encrypted form. The server understood the encrypted formations, which means before we are sending the encrypted message, the communication channel or communication medium must be established through client as well as server, right? That is the concept I am telling, that the port number 7070 or 7071. So encrypted type attribute values for post multi-part form data. Getting in the sense WW form we can URL encoded, uniform resource locator. URL, what is it? Uniform resource locator can be used for post also. So the difference, what is the difference between post and get method is, the form data is transmitted as follows. If method is get, takes values of action attribute, first taking the values of attributes, appends here, then appends the form data sets encoded using applications. What applications? Encoded content in the sense, if you are typing the URL link https ://www.psnct.ac in the sense, in web server or web network point of view, those psnct.ac.in its application. In the browser unit, we can able to display, we can able to seeing the display of the content what actually they are made in the URL link psnct.ac.in. Hope you understand, right? Usually all the form data are ASCII codes, universal ASCII codes, encrypted codes. If method is post, user agent contacts an HTTP post transaction using value of action attribute message created according to content type specified by encrypted type attribute. Encrypted type attribute. Okay, encrypted type attribute. And get and post methods, the several benchmarks and attributes characteristics are there. One by one we can see. Back button or reloader. It harmless for get method. The same thing is data will be resubmitted and the browser should alert the user that the data are about to resubmitted. And bookmark in the sense, it may be bookmark like I am going to seeing the same website again and again. For example, psnct.ac.in is the website I am going to see again and again. We can bookmark the URL link in that level. The top corner of the URL, it will show your bookmark list. In that you just click and you don't need to type the URL link again and again. Just click the bookmark. You can see you can able to see the same website you are like catched. It can be catched or post not can be catched. Encoding type like the URL of getting method is purely encoded and the post method not, it will be encoded. Multi-part encoding for binary data, they may be used to post method as 0 or 1. It will be responded from the server or not responded from the server. The same thing happens of the same thing, only it will be delivered by post method. Post method most probably server only can be able to sending the responses from the client to the client. Okay. It will be encrypted, it will not submit any responses. Both the data access from the mutual communication medium. Parameters remain in browsing history, and post method it will not maintain in many browser histories. Many VPNs, virtual private networks, are used for posting methods only. And use when sending data, the get method adds the data to the URL, and the length of a URL is limited to 2048. The maximum length of URL link, for example, www.google.com. Google is your URL, and that URL link maximum length is 2048 characters only. It's an important topic, important question. No restriction for post method. It will be encrypted in the sense the encrypted text or encrypted contents are having thousands of characters, maybe in sometimes lakhs and lakhs of characters for encrypted text or encrypted URL or encrypted type definition characters. Okay. Restrictions of any data type like only ASCII characters allow. There is no restriction because using binary data is also allowed. The security wise, GET is less secure compared to POST because data is sent as part of the URL. POST is a little safer than GET. Why we can say like that? GET is more safer than POST. POST is little safer than GET because the history is not maintained web server logs. If maybe some important aspects or some important topic we are going to choose, and it will applicable for both the methods. Visibility, data is visible to everyone in the URL, and here not the data is actually visible to any URL. Differences in server side processing. Submitted form data is processed by server. Processing differs based on method GET or POST. Example, when using CGI interference, method is GET and method is POST. GET in the sense the script is relieves the data environment variable, receives in the standard input stream. It can construct subroutines which acts commonly for both. Introduction, usage of web server development usage. Like introduction, we are seeing completed the web browser usage, retrieving documents on the web, the URL and DNS. What is URL? You already know. What is it? Uniform Resource Locator. It is called URL. And DNS. What is DNS? Domain name server or domain name system. The domain name is like what is we are typing in the URL. Hope you understand. And the introduction. In the web development field, 3-tier is often used to refer to websites. A front-end web server serving static content, a middle dynamic content processing and generation level application server. Java Enterprise Edition platform. What is Java EE? EE in the sense Enterprise Editions. That executes the request from in the URL. It will convert it as a Java Enterprise Edition platform. A backend database contains both the data set and DBMS/RDBMS software that manages and provides access to the data. Okay. To access the www must have a web browser. Is a software program that allows user to access and navigate the www. Two types are used: graphical, example Internet Explorer, Firefox, Netscape and Opera. Okay, text or Linux. What is URL? Simple explanation. Uniform Resource Locator. What is the need of URL? What is the main purpose we are going to use the URL? URL specifies the internet address of a stored file on a host computer connected through the internet. Holds the address means in the URL section or URL area we are typing some content. The context format is always telling that https // and www World Wide Web useful and domain name google.com, tsncd.ac.com, facebook.com, live.com, whatever it is, etc. etc. Every file on internet has a unique URL. Browsers use URL to retrieve files. And the examples I can tell you just before: http www.domainname.gov/ something like that pages. Here the HTTP is a protocol, host computer name is www, second level domain name is what is it? Google.com. In the sense Google is a second level domain name. Here they are mentioning host. Top level domain name is what is the agents or what is the area there. If governmental website like .gov, educational institution like .edu, .ac, something like that. Directory name is house1, file name is housecalendar.html. So we are going to use this particular file through the URL link. What is the file name? housecalendar.html. Okay. Retrieving documents on the web. URL and DNS. DNS like domain name system. URLs are translated into numeric addresses using the DNS. DNS maps host names into their corresponding IP address. DNS is a worldwide system of servers that stores location pointers to websites. Domain name, server or domain name system, I already told that. It is used to holds and stores the information or location of the pointer, which pointer we can use using the particular domain name or websites. The numeric address called IP address is actually the real URL. Numeric strings like that, it is difficult to remember. So alphanumeric addresses are used. Once translation is made by DNS, the browser can contact web server and ask for specific file loaded on its site. This is the sample of DNS accessing. So one IP address, web server, client machine and DNS server. So how the server holds the IP addresses through the internet. The internet is a mediator. In the diagram you can see that the IP 88.95.123.223, it is web server, and DNS server domain is it www.domain1.com 86. The same domain address receives from DNS server. Then only it's a communication medium. It can be able to both send or receiving the file through the internet. Okay. Approved by Internet Corporation for Assigned Names, ICANN. Approved by Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. Okay. So in this particular agency for assigning which platform, which agency, which domain actually they are going to need it, actually how it is possible to provide at the particular domain. Top level domains are .gov is governments, .edu for education, .mil is military purpose, .org is organization, NGO purpose, .net is network software purpose, .com is a commercial websites. New domain names. What is it? .biz, .mu, info, pro, name, yarrow, cop, mobi, jobs, etc. And several domains are following nowadays. Retrieving documents on the web, URL and DNS, Uniform Resource Locator and DNS. Domain names to identify and locate files stored on computers in different countries. 2-letter internet country codes used. What is it? Standardized by ISO 3166. Examples in India, .in, China, .ch, .de, .jp, Japan, .uk, United Kingdom, .ca, Canada, .de in the sense and something. Hypertext Transfer Protocol, languages of the web, protocol used for communication between web browsers and web servers. And HTTP conversation, what is it? What conversation? First client sends a request, I would like to open a connection, server response, okay, get file location sends to the server, send page or error messages. Once the page is available, what the client requests in the server, it will display the page, or no pages are available what you are requesting in the server, so it will display the error message, display response or close connections. Okay. So the communication is HTTP through the laptop, here accessing the web server. HTTP requests the internet and the server, web server responses. The cloud browser like maybe Firefox on their local computer like the laptop using the browser Firefox. Web server like Apache on www.google.com. Okay. HTTP is based on the request response communication model. Client sends a request, server sends a response. HTTP is a stateless protocol. It's important characteristics of HTTP. HTTP is a stateless protocol. The protocol does not require the server to remember anything about the client between requests. HTTP is an application layer protocols. The 7 layer, majorly HTTP is an application layer protocol. It is normally implemented over a TCP connection, port 80. Generally the port connection is available at port 80, the server as well as client. Typically browser server interaction, user enters web addresses in web browsers. Browser uses DNS to locate IP address. Browser opens TCP connection to server and sends a request through the connection. Once the connection receives the request and the server responds the responses. Okay. Browser displays the body of the responses in the client area. I am telling very earlier, the browser window. Okay. Example. Whenever you enter a URL in the address box of the browser translates the URL into a request message according to the specified protocol. Sends the request message to the server. For example, the browser translated the URL http test something like that, some URL link or URL name are available following request message. And get message, how it will be responses. Get in the sense /docs/index.html and the version 1.1 accepts the image or something like that, language, or accept encoding zip files or usual browser files. And the host getting as well as post method through 4 stages. One is user issues URL from a browser. Second stage is the request sends from the browser. Third stage is server mapping to the URL to a file or program under the document directory. And fourth response is server returns a response message. First one is returns a request. Fourth stage only the server responding the request message to the client. Browser formats the response and displays what getting from the server. Example, when this request message reaches the server can take either one of these actions. What the actions? The server interprets the request received, maps the request into a file under the server's document directory, and it will be returned for the file systems through the client and server. The server interprets the request, maybe received a program or some delivering the error message. The message is out. The browser receives the response message, interprets the message, displays the contents of the message on the browser's window according to the content type of the response. The request line has the following syntax. What is it? Request hyphen method. What type of method we are going to use to send the request to the server, and producing the name. Request URL uniform resource indicator. In this concept, just before we are seeing URL. What is URL? Uniform resource locator. It is URI. What is URI? Uniform resource indicator. And the version is followed, HTTP version. Request method name is HTTP protocol defines a set of request methods. Example, get, post, head. The client can use one of these methods to send a request to the server. Request URI specifies the resource requested. HTTP version 2 versions are currently in use. HTTP 1.0 and 1.1. And get method maximum 1.1 version used. Head 1.0 and post method is 1.1. What we are getting this particular parameters, initially both the server sends a request, client sends a request, and server responded that request. Both we are getting what is it, 1.1 version only. Head in the sense accessing the parameters receiving from the client or server. It is used to 1.0. HTTP request. The request headers are in the form of name, value, pass. Multiple values separated by commas can be specified. Request header name, request header value 2. Okay. Next, the method of HTTP request, it can be followed head post, and delete trace options connect. All the parameters what we are going to use here. Host domain, accept type 1, accept the language, how many languages are used here. Accept character sets 1 or character sets 2. User agent, reference, content type, and line, cache control, etc. And structure of the response. Important 2 more questions of the HTTP response. Structure of the response is status line, header fields, blank line, optional body, and something like that. What is it we are going to see? HTTP version, status code, and recent phrases. HTTP version, the HTTP version used in this session, either HTTP 1.1, the version may be varies 1.1 or 1.0 like that. But the last point you have to be noted, the status code is 200, it's okay, this is 404 not found, 403 forbidden, 500 internal server error. Once your request is properly submitted into the server, after submitting, server responded to you, and the responded, it will may be displayed in the browser window. The whole process is complete. The 200 status code which will be enabled, which means okay, or 404 not found, or forbidden, or internal server error. HTTP response is monitored. Content type text/html. Content length is 35. Connections keep allowing the connections, keep allowing the timeout session is maximum. What is it? The response message body contains the source data, it will be requested. Okay. Response status code, the 3-digit number. What is it? First digit is a class of the status code, informational, success, redirection, and the client as well as server making some error point, something like that. And what's the status code? It's an important topic. 100 is continue, 200 is okay, 301 move permanently, 304 not modified, 404 not found, 400 I am just missing, 400 bad request. So maybe the packets are sending from client or server missing. So on that time the 400 is responded, bad request are responded. Okay, 500 the internal server error. 502 is a bad gateway, 503 is a service unavailable request, 504 is a gateway timeout. Common header fields, connections, content type, content length, date, which means date and time at which response was generated record, location, alternate URI, uniform resource indicator, if status is redirection, last modified in the sense what is the changes actually made in the last session. So that will be noted by last modified session. Expires, the expire of the date and system, how long will be exploded or expired, date and time after which the client's copy of the resource will be out of date. Okay, the common type included. And the cookie, what is cookie? It's a piece of text that a web server that can store of user's hard disk. The repeated websites or repeated junk data are stored in the cookies. Allows a website to store information on the user machines and later it can be retrieved. Once we can able to destroy the cookies, then only the network speed or browser speed may be increased. Information structured as name value pass. Example, the website might generate a unique ID number for each visitor and store the ID number on each user machine using a cookie file. It is slightly different from the port number. It's not a port number, it's a unique ID number for each visitor and store the ID number on each user machine using a cookies file. Okay, and the example is as usual HTTP request may be sent, the response will receive plus set cookies. Response at the same time the cookie also added into the response. So each time we will send a request to the server responded, and the cookie list is also will be added. It's a finest cookie in the sense that doesn't matter. If several cookies are added or displayed in the list, it will affect your performance of the process. Okay, if you use Microsoft Internet Explorer browser, cookies may reside in a directory like c:/windows/cookies. It may contain many files. Each file is a text file that contains name value plus. There is one file for each website that has placed cookies on user machines. So example, user ID, I am telling that unique ID. If google.com has been visited, the site has placed a cookie on the user machines. What type of user machines? Just note that user ID a9 Some websites may store additional information, session ID and session ID, timing or session, what type of timing, etc. like that. Okay, so that's all about it. Next class we are going to seeing the important topic of the language of script HTML. Thank you so much. In next class we are going to seeing HTML, hypertext markup language.